Welcome to Local Link Hub's podcast, a show with local impact for global change. Local Link Hub is the localization and partnership initiative for Terre des Hommes. We are a global online platform that provides free e-learning and capacity development resources for local and national actors. Through this platform, Terre des Hommes aims to contribute to a power shift to localize aid, making the provision of aid more equal and sustainable. This project is funded by the Somaha Foundation. I'm your host, Enikő Vas. I'm the Communications and Content Manager for Local Link Hub. Thank you for listening to today's episode with the title Fighting the Effects of Climate Change with Localization. Let's get started. On Local Link Hub podcasts, we discuss topics related to partnership and localization. In today's episode, I will be talking with Tanvi Chaturaj, Local Link Hub's focal point in India, and Paulami Desarkar, Child Protection Manager at Terre des Hommes, India. Tanvi is Monitoring and Evaluation Manager in Calcutta, India, but also the focal point of Local Link Hub. She joined TDH in November 2023. Before TDH, she worked in the areas of feminist research and advocacy and helped implement education programs. Paulami joined TDH 5 years ago, bringing with her extensive child protection knowledge and expertise she accumulated working at various international NGOs in India. She is the Child Protection Program Manager for India, but also the regional safeguarding focal point for Asia. Local Link Hub started its activities in India on the 1st of May 2024. In our episode, we talk about the importance of building the capacities of local organizations in the Sundarbans, a region severely affected by climate change. My guests talk about how we can empower children and communities through participatory methodologies and safeguarding measures. Hello, Tanvi. Hello, Paulami. It's really great to have you on our podcast. The reason that we are talking today is that on the 1st of May, the Local Link initiative started officially in India. And I will start with you, Tanvi. You joined Terre des Hommes in India about half a year ago as a male officer, but you are also a focal point for the Local Link initiative. So how do you settle in? How do you feel?
Thank you so much, Eniko. I think the experience so far has been exciting and enriching. Not only do I work with great people, but I also strongly resonate with the ethos of the organization that I work in. And I have worked in organizations in the sector before, but the localization discourse to me was introduced in TDH. And even, despite it being new, ideologically, I could connect and identify with it immediately, instantly, in fact. And also, I think, as a focal point for safeguarding in India, what works brilliantly is that as a delegation, India has always been working with partners, and building capacities of partners is intrinsic to our functioning here. So I think the merging of the two has been the easiest of possible. And I think when you work for something that you really believe in, then it doesn't feel like work so much at all.
I can relate to that. I feel the same here at TDH in Hungary. So in every pilot country, Local Link Hub has a few and selected partners. And Paulami, you work for TDH India for a longer time than Tanvi. And you are the person who knows the local partners really, really well. So please, can you present briefly the selected partners for this project?
Yes, thank you, Aniko. So basically, TDH has been working with a lot of community-based organizations and CSOs since last 8 and 9 years. So we have been working with 35 local organizations. And also these organizations were selected particularly because where the remoteness of the geography. Also, many of these local CSOs, they do not necessarily have the resources or access to the city-based training and learning opportunities. So we had worked with these organizations for this particular initiative. Out of these 35 organizations, we have chosen Barashat Unnayan Prastuti and also Project Development Society. So with these two organizations, TDH shares a long-standing partnership. Both these organizations comes with a set of expertise. For an example, Project is a very renowned organization, particularly working in the domain of child protection and child rights, and comes with a lot of expertise, particularly on gender issues. So they can actually look at issues from a gender lens. They are very strongly working, particularly with boys and men, which often is a very important for any kind of social change and development. Similarly, Barashat Unnayan Prastuti, they are working with the survivors of trafficking, and they have collectivized the survivors of trafficking as a group and empowered them to raise their voices and ask for their rights. So these two organizations we have selected, but we intend to reach out more organizations through these two key partners.
What are the specific criteria that you took into consideration when selecting these partners?
So both these organizations have used various participatory methodologies. Like TDH and Prajak jointly co-created the Kabaddi for Empowerment methodology, so which has been very successful so far in preventing early marriage and also unsafe migration. With BUP, the Barashat Unnayan Prastuti, TDH has used art-based methodology, and both these organizations are very much dedicated to raise the voice of the children and young people, building leadership, which is also a focus of TDH in terms of resilience building, empowering the community. And I think that's very much linked with the localization approach, because the localization approach talks about these bottom-up initiatives and how we can, our intervention remain informed by the skills and expertise and knowledge which is locally rooted. So that's the reason we chose these two organizations for this initiative.
Could you, Tanvi and Polami, both of you, whoever wants to start, could you talk about what are the specifics of the projects that you will be working on with these selected partners?
Before I get into the project, I'd like to explain the geography of the place where we are working in. We are working in Sundarbans, which we know is the largest delta region in the world, and much of it falls in Bangladesh as well as India. But Sundarban is also facing a huge climate crisis. With climate change, the sea levels are rising. It has become exceedingly prone to disasters. And the way Sundarban is shaped is actually like a bowl. So every time there is a disaster and there is, the sea water enters into the island prone regions, the only way out is for the groundwater to take it in, which has increased the salinity of the groundwater, and it has actually changed the very fabric of the region in terms of change in livelihood patterns, change in agriculture, and with that comes also increasing incidences of distress migration. And we know that now with the more we are learning about the climate change discourse, we understand that children's vulnerabilities and threats are heightened with climate change, with families adopting negative coping mechanisms, unsafe migration, and we are seeing all of this on the rise in Sundarban. So child marriage, child labor, child trafficking, violence against children are all on the rise in the region. This being the background, we are specifically working in Kultuli and Goshava blocks of South 24 Parganas in West Bengal, both of which are disaster-prone regions. And we are working primarily to increase the child centricity in climate change adaptation. So the problem is also that with a lot of climate change adaptation mitigation measures, we really look at children as passive recipient of services and not really recognizing their agency and their stakeholdership. So the project really builds on that premise. And we do this by recognizing the importance of schools and local institutions and how they play a very important role in providing a space for children to actualize their agencies and build their adaptive capacities. Of course, the schools may not currently have the kind of resources and trainings to be able to do that. So, one of the things that we wish to do with the project is really build the capacities of the schools as well as other local institutions to safeguard the rights of children, offer psychosocial support, and facilitate in resilience building. Also, these schools often become, at the time of disasters, also become shelter spaces. So it's very important that we, bring in their stakeholdership and work with them. And using our other participatory methodologies, we also want to work with a collective and build a collective of children who can advocate for their needs and their desires in what they seek from climate change adaptation and mitigation measures, and really take that forward to make policy changes and recommendations.
Yeah, just to add what Tanvi mentioned, that we also we understand that any kind of climate change adaptation, we do not consider that the community, they do not have the coping and adaptive capacity. They certainly, because they are there for many, many years and they are experiencing this constant disaster. So in this project, we also intend to understand the existing coping and adaptive capacity and how we can build on to their strengths rather than introducing something which is not relevant for them. So we want to design that model with the communities, with the local organizations in this project.
It's really interesting and sad at the same time to hear that environment has such an impact on people's life every day. What are the primary focus areas that do you want to address with the help of Local Link in India?
So we are looking at certain areas of strengthening the capacity of the local organizations, and these are the areas we have selected based on various discussions with the local organizations, because these organizations, they do receive various grants for project implementation, but there's very limited opportunities for them to strengthen the capacity, institutional capacity as an organization. So we are particularly looking at strengthening their capacity in terms of managing their finance, building their financial system, developing the organizations. Also, an important focus on safeguarding, because accountability to the community is very, very important and critical. And safeguarding, it's not only about having a policy, but having a system and building that culture in the organization. We are also looking at supporting the organization, that how they can manage the project, how they can monitor and evaluate the programs they are implementing, so that it not only for this project, but also it supports the organization to manage other projects and also raise resources for the important work they are doing in the region. Also, we are looking at strengthening the mental well-being of these frontline workers in the organization, because we understand the challenges and they face while working with the vulnerable group of children and communities, and they also need some kind of a support mechanism established in the organization, which often not built in the regular grant or project. So that is mental well-being of staff is one of the elements. And what we are looking at, that mapping various organizations, and of course there is a TDH has recently developed the localization policy. We want to be informed and also guided by that policy, but we will create a conversation and a space with the local organizations, like what localization means to them, how do they see localization, so that will also inform the donors and external stakeholders. And whenever we design any kind of intervention or strategies, the localization framework developed by the local organization will inform us designing the framework which is more kind of appropriate and relevant for the region.
So a lot of organizational strength comes from the supporting network, and building these collaboration opportunities is also one of the project's objectives. But how do you see this happening?
One of the things that we feel that's very exciting for us as well as CSOs and partner organizations in India is to look at the local link hub platform as a space to really, of course, yes, share capacities and share knowledge, but also advocate for indigenous knowledge systems that are being developed in the region. Like Polumi just mentioned a while ago, that TDH in India, in collaboration with one of our partners, Prajok, developed the Kabaddi for protection methodology. And I think that the local link hub is also a space where such methodologies can be amplified to the global audience with due credits. And that's something that's really exciting. Something in, of course, there are contexts, yes, but something in Hungary could be extremely relevant to a intervention in India. And to have that space of collaboration for partners across countries, across domains through a platform is exciting and is also very enriching. So that's also another element of collaboration that we look forward to.
And just to add that when we are looking at collaboration, of course, we are looking at collaboration and space among the CSOs, but also because many of these organizations are working with children and young people and training them and young people as leaders. So we are also looking at how we can create a child and youth advisory board. So it's like taking it down to the, at the level of children and young people where they can also inform, they can collaborate as a group.
So I need to mention that also our website, Local Link Hub, provides a space for networking. It's called the membership directory. So if our listeners are interested, they can opt in, and after a brief verification, they will be listed there, and there they can contact each other, collaborate with each other. So as a final question, if let's say you had a crystal ball to look into the future, how do you see the impact of this localization project 5 years from now?
I think that one is certainly that in the region where we are working in Sundarbans, where CSOs have been present since a long period and have a huge presence. One is certainly to have a strengthened networking and association and collaboration between these organizations and sharing the knowledge, sharing the capacities. That's something that I see. And the second thing is, I think, a little more intrinsic in terms of just organizations across having more intent to talk about localization, just people in general, an organization to be concerned about localization, to be talking about it, to be thinking about it, so that we're also working towards a discourse that is really, as Polumi also mentioned before, is more bottom up, is also grounded. And I think that decisive shift in discourse is something that I really, really hope comes through as a long-term impact of the project.
Yeah, and to me, I know like whenever we talk about localization, we say like how we shift power. To me, I feel that at the end of the 5 years, if we consider maybe they have the power and we are not able to see it. So if we try to understand that power and just facilitate a process so that they can share the wealth of knowledge and the capacities, competencies, so that I think that shift and learning I see as a 5 years down the line, if we kind of be informed of the power they have.
Thank you so much for your time and for the interesting insights you provided, and wish you both success with this new endeavor. I'm Annie Kövös, and you've been listening to a Local Link Hub podcast. We had help from my colleague Judit Németh Almási. Thanks to all of you for listening, and thank you Paula Midesarkar and Tanvi Chatoraj for joining me today on this Local Link Hub podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to learn more about Terre des Hommes initiative, please visit our website locallink.charthub.org. If you have any comments on the episode or want to share your thoughts for the focus of future episodes, contact us via social media on Facebook or LinkedIn, or email us on locallink@charthub.org. Thanks for joining, and see you on our next episode.